Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast, Sofia.
Thank you. Hi.
Massive congratulations on the second part of Rebel Moon.
Thank you.
The first one was impressive, but the second one hits all kinds of emotional notes that were really impressive and unexpected. Like I wasn't expecting to go on such a journey. So,
what were you surprised by?
I think just the amount of, in a science fiction to be caught off guard by the level of chemistry with the actors, like with you and your partner. It really caught me by surprise in a good way.
That's good.
And you don't always get that from sci-fi, I think.
No, you don't, especially from that kind of level action film. Getting that kind I think it needed that softness and that romance.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm excited, for people to discover the full story that was intended to begin with, because the script, part 1 and 2, it was written as one script and it was meant to be one film and not have a pause in between. And it's nice to see the relationships and be more intimate with the character and see what is drawing them to want to fight for that cause.
So what was it that first attracted you to the project? How did you hear about this? Was it a call from Zach's team?
No, I got a call from my agent and I taped for it. And then I went in and I spoke with Zach for about 3 hours. He gave me the whole story in detail, by the way, because I didn't have the script at the time and I just was sent scenes. And then we did a screen test, which was a full-on day of filming, basically. And I got the part after that. But I thought, how can I not say yes to working with Zach? First of all, I just, he's a master at his craft. He knows so well what he's doing, and how can I resist being in slow-mo, basically? Yeah. But no, it's just, I thought it would be just really fun to be part of an original story. And I haven't done action stunts, and I haven't done any fight in a long time at that point. So I thought it would be the right project to do it for, and doing it with Zach, I knew he was going to shoot it in an amazing way, and yeah.
Because you've done some really good action in the past, but this has obviously got a really good mixture. What was it, in terms of the drama, was that something that really excited you as well? Because, there is some very good interpersonal sort of connections. Yeah. There's a romance, there's a lot of sacrifice, there's a lot to sort of delve into. When you're looking at that script for the first time, what were the sort of things going on in your brain about how to build the character?
Yeah, no, when I was reading, I was like, okay, that's heavy shit. It's not just your go-to story or like your predictable kind of like storyline. It's really intense. And he gave us things that are really hard to overcome as characters, which it makes it fun for an actor, because I don't feel like I've seen, I can copy and paste from other stories, whether it's Nemesis' story or Korra's story. And I remember I can't say so many spoilers, I think, but there's the one thing that Korra goes through that you discover in movie number 2 about part of her responsibilities when she was part of the mother world. That was quite heavy, and I did not know how to relate to it, how to defend it, having to be the lawyer of your character. I did not know where to grab it from, and that was hard to juggle. And then I forgave her, and I understood, okay, like I know how to be the lawyer to her. I get it, but it was hard. It was not obvious.
I think that's one of the really fascinating things about your character, is this sort of sense of guilt that she carries that isn't obviously understood until quite a long way into the second film, like where it's all sort of coming from. But there's this
why is she such a recluse, or why is she so quiet, and why can she? It's literally the second scene or third scene in movie 1 that is quite heavy with Hagen, who asks, where I tell him to be loved or love or to be loved. I don't know what that is. Basically, I don't know if I'm capable of either. And she was taught that love is weakness, which is quite heavy from the beginning. And I think it pays off in movie number 2 that you understand where she comes from in that journey to even wear a dress and have slight longer hair and being a bit softer with the world around her.
What did you personally relate to that you were able to bring into the film outside of the script and Zach's sort of thoughts as well?
It's something that actually came quite early on, because I was waiting to hear back from the tape, and then I got the part, and I wrote a letter to Zach just to tell him how I truly felt about the character, and what I knew I could bring is basically the fact that I understand what it feels like to feel like you don't belong somewhere and feel that awkwardness. And I grew up through a war in Algeria, a civil war in Algeria, not a war, but a civil war, which is like really damaging to a population and long time creates more long time repercussion that, you know, makes it very hard for a country to get back on its feet. But I felt like I understood that, and I wrote that to him, and I thought that this is what Cora is basically. She had to escape.
What was maybe the hardest bit about your character that you had to sort of grapple with?
It's what happens in movie number 2 that we find out about her past story. That true. Was the hardest part for me emotionally, because I did not know what to do with it. I couldn't find it in any other piece of literature or piece of another film. And I didn't grab anything from outside, by the way. I stayed centered with the script and Zach and what I could lift off the page, you know, that was interesting to explore, but I tried to make it as authentic and original as possible.
And how do you sort of approach the stunt side of things and the action? Because, I mean, there's so much action and it's all, you know, I mean, you can definitely see in a lot of the wide shots that you're doing, you know, a fair amount of it. So, I mean, what were some of the challenges of that side of things and prepping for that on such a big movie? And it was 7 months, wasn't it? Or something like that? 10 months. So,
10 months,
really
1 year
shoot.
of prep. Yeah. That's just for me. Zach is even longer. He's still working on it. But I think, you know, I sort of copy and paste the formula of approaching stunt choreography from what I did when I was a dancer. I look at it as being the same exact, and I discovered that quite early on, because when I got Kingsman, I had no idea that I could do stunts to begin with, because it was my first time doing it or doing any fight training. But I thought, okay, I need to adapt it the same way. Then I look at dance and do exactly what I've learned there, except it's not dance steps. It's fight sequences, which can be looked at as dance steps.
Yeah, especially in a Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah. So but the challenges were just one of the biggest challenge was that slanted stage that we see in movie number 2, because it was like we had to reset every time. It was not continuous, but when you watch it, it's really continuous, which was challenging because we had to rehearse on a flat floor. And but then when we shot, we had to actually really slide, and we had to reset every time. It was like going up. They were not making it flat, and then us going. Anyway, it was a whole thing, and it was also, you know, sometimes we had boxes sliding down, sometimes we had a pole, so every set was different, and they had to be so organized, all the stunts, and Zach to know. You know, what sequence to shoot, what do we do in this one? I mean, anyway, it was a big deal. I
mean, I was watching that scene, you know, it's in the ship. I won't spoil too much about what's happening, but it is at like more than 45 degrees. And I was just thinking all the way through, how on earth, with any amount of money, do you film something like that? It looked, you know, it looked like you were all flying down at great speed.
We were, but just for shorter amount of times. I think it was broken into, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 9 sequences.
Okay, wow.
I think it was 9, yeah.
And does that help the performance? Like when you've got something really difficult physically to contend with, to sort of keep it in the moment?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And that's why also I insist that for me to do, I mean, I had my stunt double Mel who did a lot, because you cannot achieve anything without them, even if you do all your stunt, because they have to set up the shot, they have to be present, they have to give you note, they have to look in the monitor, but for me, I insisted of doing everything I possibly could that they will allow me, because I wanted to find the physical exhaustion. I wanted to find what it does to me to be in that skin over and over and over. And Cora Artheleus has done that for way longer than I have done, you know, the stunts. So I wanted to put it in my body as much as I could.
Is there any difficulty finding time to rehearse when you're on such a big sort of Hollywood production in terms of like the character relationships and those nuances and finding the sort of the tiny moments in the subtext and the dialogue?
Yeah, it was at first I started rehearsing in January, and then January, February, March. So 3 full months of just doing stunts. And it was mainly doing conditioning. I really wanted to learn how to hold the gun, because I wanted to not make any mistake in that. I wanted to learn how to crawl with it, how to run, what I didn't want to look like. I haven't done that my whole life. And then I could only rehearse one fight sequence, which is the fight with Noble that we rehearsed over and over. that happens at the end of part 1. But it's impossible to choreograph in advance 10 months of body of work. So and sometimes we had to shoot when we started filming. I couldn't be as much in the stunt room, so we had to build a rehearsal space on set. We had it, and then we had it on location when we were in Santa Clarita. And basically, I had to hop out of filming and go rehearse with them, or come earlier in the morning before filming and go in between. Yeah. So we had to juggle that. Yeah,
super intense.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular you look for when you're getting a script sent to you, like deciding what maybe puts you off in a script, what excites you, what kinds of things provide an exciting challenge? I mean, obviously with this one you've got Zack Snyder, you've got a massive epic. It's very compelling. But in a general sense, do you have any sort of things that are yeses and nos maybe? I'm trying not to be that selective to begin with. I want to know about what the project is, and really, I think, listen to my instinct and see how and if it resonates to me in the moment. But for me, relationships in characters, the intimacy within themselves, the relationships with others is very, very important. And maybe just one last bit of advice you could give to actors. I mean, for instance, this one you've obviously did incredibly well in the auditioning phase. Any sort of tips in terms of how to let go and nail your auditions, maybe?
I mean, for me in general, don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams and keep pushing. It can be an easier road for certain than others, and a longer one for others. But I truly believe in not letting go if it truly comes from your heart, and if it truly comes from your heart is a very important point. It's like, why are you doing that? I had to ask myself that at some point. I was like, why? And because I was on autopilot, I didn't feel like I had the choice. I was truly led by my inspirations, and truly led by, I felt deeply possessed by the need of just being an artist. I needed to dance. I needed to interpret feelings in one way or another. So acting is that. So I at some point, you forget why you're doing it, because that's all you know. And at some point, I think it's important to remind yourself to not reconsider, because you need to make changes, but to remind yourself basically why you do that, and really tap in with yourself. It's are you doing it for the right reasons? I truly believe that this is a craft and a job that are meant to be done for the right reasons.
Yes. An amazing advice to finish on. Massive congratulations again.
You.
I mean, you're a tour de force on screen, and you, action, emotion, everything. It's really good.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.